Hi, this is Laurent Cohen from Zacks Professional Services. Today I'll be showing you how to use the Due Diligence feature in Zacks Advisor Tools. So the Due Diligence feature is a useful way that you can take a deeper dive into Zacks research and fundamentals for companies that have already passed the screen or companies that you're considering selling or adding to your client portfolios. So the way you would get there is either by going to this box on the top left, entering in a ticker symbol for a stock or fund, or by simply clicking the name of a ticker symbol that you see in one of your lists or another research page. So let's just type in a ticker here. Let's go with NVIDIA. I'm going to click on that once it's suggested in the drop-down menu, and it will open up the due diligence page for this stock. So the overview page is the first thing you see when you get here, and it's a pretty detailed look on the various metrics for the company, performance metrics, risk, daily trading statistics, some of our rankings and style scores, as well as the various models and documents that we have here in the top right, these various reports. So you have the Zacks Analyst Model, this Excel file, which allows you to look at Zacks estimates for the full income statement, along with estimates for key revenue drivers and growth segments for a company. So really sort of break down some of the performance of a company into greater detail. And then we have a few other reports here, like the Analyst Report is a really useful way of just getting a detailed overview of a company's overall prospects, overall operations, forward projections, current statistics. So when we get here, we see the current trading price as of the report's production, as well as our short-term Zacks rank, our long-term Zacks recommendation, our proprietary earnings-based metrics to predict performance in the short term, 1 to 3 months and 6 to 12 months, respectively. And then we also have some of our additional style scores here that rank a stock's attractiveness based on different investing styles. So value, growth, momentum, and then the VGM composite. We additionally have a summary of the company's current operations, forward-looking sales and earnings projections, a more detailed overview, and then a whole page of reasons to buy and reasons to sell. Sometimes you may notice this is framed risks instead of reasons to sell, depending on the current rating of the stock. NVIDIA is currently a 3 as of the recording of the video. So with a hold rating, we see it framed as both reasons to buy and reasons to sell. Beyond this, we see a deep dive into the latest earnings report and further statement analysis with the balance sheet and cash flow, as well as recent news and a multiples valuation. And then we get this sort of peer comparison fact sheet in this industry analysis page that is also really useful for just comparing to the industry and other similar companies. You also get a deep a snapshot of the analyst earnings model here as well, and then some disclaimers explaining the methodology. So beyond this, we also have a few additional reports. The industry outlook is a more broad analysis of the industry the stock would belong to. So here we have for NVIDIA, the semiconductor industry. And this is a similar sort of couple-page document that gives you a deep dive on some of the ratios, relevant metrics, growth drivers for a given industry. And then beyond that, you can also access things like the snapshot report, let's say for when the full-on analyst report might not be up to date for a given company. So you may just see the computer-generated snapshot report. And this gives you a lot of detailed information in a sort of dense one-page report. You get, some of the high-level overview statistics and information, and then you also get a sort of deep dive on upcoming earnings estimate revisions and the amount of broad coverage there is for the stock in general. And then you see, again, some ratio comparisons between the company and the industry, the broad market, and some peers. So those are the various reports that you can access within the overview page. Beyond this, there are various other pages here that are useful. So the key stats, This is another page where you just get a full deep dive on various ratios and statistics that are relevant to your analysis. So they're organized by the different statements they belong to, and then just various performance and risk and otherwise useful metrics. And then in the bottom right here, we have a lot of our Zacks ranks and style scores. These are additionally expanded upon in some of the subsequent tabs here. So the style scorecard tab looks at a comparison between some of the Zacks rankings and some broad ratios to the industry and some peers. And then when we go to this Quant Models tab, here we really get a deep dive on the style scores that we just discussed, as well as their respective inputs. So we have the Zacks indicator, which is sort of the basis for the Zacks rank and recommendation, as well as all of the subsequent style scores, the value, growth, and momentum ones we discussed earlier, and all of their respective inputs. Furthermore, you have some more long-term ratios and scores here in the earnings quality, earnings and dividend quality. Price response indicator looks at price movement before and after an earnings release. And the insider rank, which tracks buying and selling activity by insiders, as well as just broad holdings by insiders. So these are the various scores that you could also consult to further add to your analysis when looking at an interesting stock. And these are all the inputs for them, so it's relatively transparent and allows you to look at some of the more relevant metrics for your analysis. One more thing is that if you're ever curious about any of these in greater details, you could click the I next to the name, and it'll show you a little bit more on the methodology for that respective score. Once we move on here to the estimates tab, you'll see that we just get another deep dive on earnings estimates on broad coverage for various quarters and fiscal years, and just the net trend of revisions over various periods. You can see the magnitude, the upside, the surprise, all the various inputs that go into our Zacks indicator are sort of detailed in these various tables here in the estimates, and you could also see where our estimates are coming from. So there's a lot of transparency here on this as well. Once we move on to the surprise analysis tab, you'll see this is just another page where you can look at historic earnings surprises and look at the magnitude of them over time through this graph. And then once we get to the financials tab, here is another useful place to look at financials. And there are just a multitude of different time periods you can go through here for your standard income, balance sheet, cash flow reports, as well as just a deep dive on financial ratios and valuations here yet again. Beyond this, we have the charting tab, which is a useful place to chart different ratios and metrics for the stock or fund in question. The fundamental chart will be a good place to chart fundamentals like PE or dividend yield. The performance chart is a good place to see price movement or historical return. And then the technical chart is a good place to set up any technical analysis based on moving average or relative strength or any of the various indicators we have in our system. Moving on to peers, we just get another deep dive here on all the various ratios and metrics we have for the company that we're analyzing, as well as some of the selected peers. So this is another page where you could just do a real deep dive on all the various ratios and metrics that are relevant to your analysis, as well as some of the scores that we looked at earlier. This company versus sector and industry page is a similar page to the peers one we just looked at, but instead of comparing to other individual companies, we're comparing the company that we're analyzing, the due diligence, to the broad sector as well as our Zacks defined sectors, industries, and sub industries. And here's another page where you could access that industry outlook that we looked at earlier. Same with the subsequent tab, Industry Outlook just takes you to that report that we looked at a moment ago that takes a deep dive on the industries. The Events tab, while not necessarily shown in this due diligence page, if you go to the News and Events tab, go to Event Calendar, here's where you can get a historic analysis for all the earnings releases that have come out. In this page is sort of more of a broad macroeconomic analysis that you can conduct here. And then the news tab will show you any historical news that's relevant to the stock, either specifically or more broadly. And the source will also be shown for that as well. So again, this has been my summary of due diligence in Zacks Advisor Tools, which is a really detailed menu for you to further your analysis on any interesting stocks that you're looking to buy or sell, as well as ETFs or mutual funds that each have their own detailed analyses that are packaged in within these pages. So if you have any questions, please contact Zacks Advisor Tools support. Thank you for watching.